What used to frustrate me the most as a child was the dichotomous behavior of my narcissistic mother, who would laugh, smile, and be all bubbly when with strangers, as if all her ailments, problems that she loved to complain about all the time were gone, vanished in a moment, and the lively person would come out very welcoming, caring, giving people advices, talking about her life and all the amazing things happening in there. But then the moment she'd be home, a completely different persona would take over. That smile would be gone, as if taken away by someone. And then the victim face, the mask would be put on, trying to garner supply from her kids, especially me, as if her life was burning, filled with misery. That is what we had to deal with. And unfortunately, as a child, I thought it was because of me. As a result, I became a codependent, always trying to cater to her needs, trying to make sure she's okay, because the fear was something terrible is going to happen to her. That is what she made it seem like. That is how she shaped the environment. For all these reasons, today in this episode, I'm going to talk about how a narcissist shows this different behavior to public and acts completely opposite to that when at home, how all of that impacts you as the receiver of that treatment. If that sounds interesting and you're eager to learn more with me, please make sure to subscribe before we begin, because your subscription helps spread awareness about narcissistic abuse. The most confusing thing about a narcissist is their shape-shifting nature. They can shape-shift literally into anything, into anyone, as long as that serves the agenda and as long as that gets them what they want out of the situation. When they are out in public, they feel lively because they're getting a lot of attention from everybody. They get to brag humbly or quite overtly to make it seem like either they're the biggest martyr in case it is a vulnerable covert narcissist who needs all that pity and sympathy, or they're the biggest whatever because they need to be seen as better than everybody else. For these reasons, they come across as kind, as empathetic, as someone who is struggling in their life, as someone who has a great family, wonderful children, an amazing spouse who they portray as a trophy, and so on. But when the same narcissist is at home and nobody is watching, especially strangers, they get to be who they are: rotten, miserable, spiteful, hateful, disconnected, and cold-hearted. They do not show any interest in anything whatsoever. Rather, they keep pushing buttons through their subtle covert tactics to keep people on toes, to keep people walking on eggshells around them, because you do not know what's going to go wrong. Now, they are not performing anymore. So, who is expected to perform? You. How? By giving them all the supply, by asking them if everything is okay, by making sure you do not say something that will offend their ego, and then they will destroy you, and so on. Their public and private personas do not match at all. This difference tells us they know how to behave nicely, because if their behavior was so unconscious, why and how would they know how not to behave in public? They know by being the asshole they are, they won't get the supply. They'll be hated by everyone. Nobody would want to talk to them. Nobody would want to keep them around, and so on. They know by talking nicely, by appearing charismatic, or by appearing as to be the biggest empathetic person in the entire room, they'll be able to garner that admiration, gather that supply in the form of people's emotions. They know how to behave, what is the right way of behaving and treating people. But when with you, the private persona, they do not care at all. They know how to behave. They know what not to say. They know what to give you, what you're craving for. They know how to treat their children. But they intentionally do not do any of that, because by doing that, they'll appear weak. How will they able to feel powerful if they do not make their children become little scared mice in the house? I'm talking about my experiences. When outside, my father would pretend to be the most helpful guy, the one who helps everybody. But when at home, the monster, the scary, rageful monster would come out, who would slip into the worst form of rage at any moment and beat us to pulp. That's why when he used to come home from his office, we would run to our rooms to save ourselves, because it literally felt death had arrived. The look on his face, the way he would scream the moment he enters the house, all of that was soul shattering. It never felt we were seeing a human being. It felt the opposite. I would say I experienced a demon showing up out of nowhere, and now there's no way left for us except running away in the hopes of not being tortured for the minutest and the most insignificant thing that people ignore. With a covert narcissistic mother, there was no connection whatsoever, because she would always sulk. She would make it seem like her life was a suffering because the responsibilities she had, she didn't want to take care of them. Then we were made to feel like burden, especially me. I would feel that way. And then comes the father, the monster, the scary monster. Imagine children growing up in such environments. How would they know what safety is? They don't know. How would they know what home is like? No, they want to run away from their homes. And then these parents go around crying wolf and saying BS about these children, trying to shame and blame them without looking within and trying to understand what they have done and how they have treated them. Many survivors also get confused. They ask questions like, is there something missing in me? Am I doing something wrong? Why does the narcissist treat others so nicely? And when it comes to me, when it comes to our children, he or she is so abusive. He is so disconnected. She is so humiliating, so belittling of us. Why? Is there something wrong with me? Do I need to do something more? Of course not. What you're dealing with is the narcissist's real self. Everything is a performance for a narcissist, and the audience matters. Sometimes the audience is real, other times it's imaginary. But if they do not have to perform, they won't be motivated to behave nicely. With you, they know they can get supply whenever they need it. So why behave nicely? It's not your fault at all. You should not blame yourself. It is the narcissist's shape-shifting nature. It is their split personality, the dichotomy, the compartmentalization, the crazy change that happens in their persona, only to appease people, only to kiss people's behind and so on. For what purpose? To get supply, to get that validation and attention they depend on for their survival. But why don't they take it from you? You're not enough. They need a lot of it. They are seeking novelty. The newer the people, the newer the victims, the better they feel about themselves, because it's like hunting down new prey every single day. Have you experienced something like this? The two personas, the two sides to a narcissist? If yes, drop your experiences in the comments below, and also share how that impacted you and your children if you had any, because your experiences might end up helping so many survivors feel less alone and isolated in the journey of healing and recovery after narcissistic abuse. What is also very important to understand here is the difference between how a victim also tends to put on a happy face when they go out, but can't maintain and sustain that state when they are at home. Many people might think, well, I also did that. Does that make me a narcissist? Of course not. You have to go out there, you have to interact with people, you have to earn, you have to live, you have to function socially. So you cannot live that pain all the time. That means you'll have to put on a mask. But that is not inauthentic as it is the case with the narcissists. They do it because that gets them a lot of supply. You do it for survival. You do it to function. The moment that conversation ends, you run to the bathroom, you cry because it was extremely overwhelming for you. For the narcissist, it was refreshing. Intentions and agendas always matter. If you are in confusion, don't solely look at the behavior. Look at the intention. Always consider the context and then try to understand what I'm talking about or what a particular behavior means in your case. To conclude it, The narcissist's different personas show us how big of a hypocrite they are, and they do not have any true, genuine, authentic personality that you can connect with. If you were to take away all these masks from the narcissist, nothing will be left. They will squirm and struggle to even breathe, because without these personalities they have created, they aren't anything at all. Everything has been created with one thing in mind, and that is to garner supply. That is the end of it. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you did, let me know in the comments. Share it with those who might need to watch it and listen to this. I'll talk with you in the next one. As always, until then, let the healing begin and continue.